Hello everyone, my name is Ruby Yadav and I am a legal intern at Lexis and Company. I am pursuing my LLB from Miri Professional and Law Institute, MDU Rohtak. I am glad to get this opportunity to introduce myself and discuss my topic with all of you. And today's discussion topic is the Muslim personal law, that is the Shariat Act. And the sole purpose of my topic is to tell you what is the Muslim personal law and some of its important provisions also. So this Shariat Act 1937, also known as the Muslim Personal Law Application Act 1937. In Islam, law is considered to be of divine origin, and law means the direction of God for regulating all the human conduct, spiritual, moral, and secular. And some of the directions are obligatory, but some are only the desirable. Whereas in other cases, one may or may not follow them. And the literal meaning of Shariat is the path to be followed by human beings. And this act was enacted by the Central Legislature in 1937. And the application of Muslim personal law today is generally regulated by this enactment. And according to the Shariat Act 1937's preamble, the object of the Act is to make provisions for the application of the Muslim personal law to Muslim in India. The main provision of this Act is contained in the Section 2. It lays down that notwithstanding any custom or usage of contrary in all questions regarding the 10 different topics of personal law enumerated in this section, the role of decision in cases where the parties are Muslims shall be the Muslim personal law. And there are 10 topics given under this section 2, that is the intestate succession, special property of female, including personal property of inherited or obtained under contract of gift, or any other provisions of personal law. Third one is the marriage. Fourth one is the dissolution of marriage, including talaq, ila, zihar, khula and mubarak. Now fifth one is the maintenance. Sixth is dower. Seventh is the guardianship. Eighth is gift. Ninth is trust. And 10th is waqf. The scope of section 2 is to abrogate custom and uses insofar as these have displaced the rules of Mohammedan law. It is now considered that the act has the effect of repealing expressly and implicitly any enactment other than those specified under Section 6 of the Act. Section 3 of this Act provides that any person who satisfies the prescribed authority that he is a Muslim and he is competent to contract within the meaning of Section 11 of the Indian Contract Act, and that he is the resident of India, may by a declaration in a prescribed form and filed before a prescribed authority declares that he desires to obtain the benefit of the Shariat Act, and therefore the provisions of section 2 shall apply to the declarant and all his minor children and their descendants, as if in addition to the matters enumerated therein, adoption, wills and legacies were also specified. Now, Section 4 of the Shariat Act empowers the state government to make rules to carry into effect the purpose of the Shariat Act. So, in particular, such rules may provide that for first one is that for prescribing authority before whom and he form in which declaration under this act may be made. Second one is the for prescribing the fees to be paid for the filing of declaration and for the attendance at private residence of any person in the discharge of his duties under the Shariat Act. And third one is the for prescribing the times at which such fees shall be payable and the manner in which they shall be levied. This was about the Shariat Act, as it is also considered as the Muslim personal law, which was enacted in 1937. And to govern according to this act, a person must have to fulfill certain categories which is mentioned under the section 3. And this was all about the Shariat Act, as it is a very important act according to the for the Muslims. This is about my topic, and that's it for the day. Thank you so much, all of you.